television and radio show themes.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Strategy Hacker Livestream. I'm Shelly Palmer. It is Wednesday afternoon, I'm excited to say. It's not so nice out today here in New York. I am very happy to be here with you, and I hope you are happy to be here with me. We are live on YouTube Live. We're live on Facebook Live. We're live on Twitch. We're live on whatever Periscope is these days, or whatever Twitter is doing. I'm very happy to have you all here. We're going to do so many interesting things today. Please let me know where you are in chat, and let me know what you do for a living, where you are, what's going on. Just say hi. The chat's where all this happens. Today we're going to talk about CES 2022, which I'm super excited about. We're going to talk about Facebook upholding the Trump ban. We're going to talk about Apple versus Epic Games, that trial, and then the EU and Spotify and Apple again. I've got a crypto glossary I want to share with you, and we'll talk a little bit about Ethereum, which is just on fire today. I mean, crazy what's going on. So welcome from Cameroon. That is amazing. I am so happy when the LinkedIn group shows up from all over the world. Justin, welcome from Kansas, and Ken, welcome from New York City. Hello, everybody on all of these wonderful channels. We're glad to have everybody here. We're also going to talk a lot about crypto today with so many questions about crypto. David Sharmatz, how are you? Welcome from Denver. I'm glad it's semi-warm there. And welcome from Pakistan. Fantastic. Humez, nice to see you here on LinkedIn. Great to have a group from London as well. Thank you, Jim Thomas from Minneapolis. So happy to have you all here today. You know, it's interesting, and we're in a global chip shortage. There's all kinds of stuff going on. We're going to talk about it all. As always, this is office hours, so you can ask me anything. Charlie from Detroit-ish, welcome. And welcome Allison Green from New York, New York. So you can ask me anything at all. These are my office hours. We do this every single Wednesday. While we're waiting for everybody to get here, we can, we talk about data science. We can talk about crypto. That's sort of a big thing right now, DeFi and The world of DEXs and DApps and decentralized finance seems to be on everybody's mind right now. Welcome, Mickey. I'm glad you're in Southern California, and I know we're all itching to travel. As you can see, the chat is what's happening. You should definitely put a little bit about yourself in the chat, because you can then, of course, talk with each other. Hi, Randy. How are you? Glad that you're here from the Bay Area. So yeah, just tell us where you are, a little bit about what you do, and of course, feel free to ask any questions. We'll absolutely welcome Stephen Catola from Toronto. We will absolutely try to answer every one of your questions today. It's such a busy news week. That's, I think, the best way I can describe it. It's a busy news week. Well, first and foremost, CES is going to be live in 2022. We're going to have CES back in Las Vegas. So I would love to hear from each and every one of you. Aldo, welcome from New Jersey. I'm just dying to hear from everybody. Are you thinking about going? Are you planning on going? If you did get there, what would that feel like? And, how are you thinking about CES, or are you thinking about it? Normally this time of year, no one really thinks about it unless you're going to exhibit. As many of you know, we do an awful lot of stuff at CES every year. It's sort of like our Super Bowl. We just love it. Absolutely love it. And so many wonderful people are there, and so many great, yes, Joey has booked all our plane tickets, and our hotel rooms are booked, and the suites are booked, and it's like amazing. But the question is, they're going to do a virtual version of CES as well as an in-person version of CES. And the question is, how many people are really going to go? It looks like Justin's going to go. That's wonderful. Happy to know that. And welcome, Rodolfo, from Patagonia in Argentina. So what a great group. Thank you all of you from LinkedIn for telling us where you are. I'm just interested about, are people really going to go to Las Vegas? Looks like Justin's heading out there. Yeah, 10 years plus. The 2021 CES was a little sad because I don't think the CTA, the Consumer Technology Association, really put their heart into it. I think they were pretty sure that the 2022 was going to be back in person, and they had Microsoft handle it. We had a great CES 2021. We had the best CES we ever had. For those of you who are listening who don't know what CES is, and I know there's kind of a language barrier for some of you around the world too, it used to be called the Consumer Electronics Show. Now they just call it CES. It's put on by the Consumer Technology Association, and it's a show that used to be just about consumer electronics. So the latest televisions and radios and whatever. But of course it's evolved. I don't even know if people sell radios anymore. I mean, I guess they do as part of cars or what have you. But in the world we live in today, the actual organization changed its name from the Consumer Electronics Association to the Consumer Technology Association. And while they didn't change the name of the show, they just now use the initialism CES. And it's really about everything. You've got everything from machine learning and artificial intelligence. Media companies are there. Brands are there. Every kind of technology you can imagine. Amazon is there. Facebook is, everybody's there. It's the kind of just central meeting place for the whole industry. So it was a big deal that they didn't do it live in 2021. Obviously, they couldn't do it live in 2021. And the big question was, would it be safe to do it? Is it safe to do it in 2022? It's in early January. January 5th to the 8th, I think it'll be in 2022. I want to welcome Cosmin from Romania, and Bruno from Portugal, and Jada from Kuwait, welcome, and Andrew from London, welcome. Glad you're all here. David Houle, thank you for showing up. Aldo, good to have you. Steve Bradbury, Howie Schwartz, glad to have you all here. Wow, all regular crowds coming in. Be sure to say a little bit about what you do, and of course, to introduce yourselves to one another, and absolutely ask me any questions. Tell me about your CES plans. I really want to know about your CES plans. I'm wondering out loud, because this is a hotly debated topic here at the Palmer Group, what kind of in-person events we can put on at CES 2022. It's like 6 months away, so it's hard to understand. We won't have attained herd immunity in the United States, according to the people who know about such things. I don't actually know what would have to happen for people to get to the point where they wouldn't feel like they need a mask, or they'd be willing to sit next to one another, closely next to one another in a big event. 2 years ago, in 2019, we had like 1,500 people at the Encore Theater Wednesday morning for our Innovation Series Summit. It was like, oh my goodness, it was like the most fun I ever had on stage. I couldn't speak because my voice was gone by that point. I did the best I could. It was kind of really funny. I sounded like a 13-year-old boy in puberty, but but wow, what an amazing crowd. But they were all sitting shoulder to shoulder, and the whole thing was about a networking event. So we had all of these people. We had a continental breakfast served, and everybody was next to one another. Is that, yeah, I mean, that's what's going to have to happen. Will we wear masks? How's that going to work? We're thinking that through. Welcome, Tushar from Ethiopia. So happy to have you here. And Gilbert, welcome. Glad you're here. Yeah, so anyway, CES a big deal for us, and I don't actually know how we're going to handle it. I just don't. I've thought about it a lot. We're going. We got, as Joey put in the chat, we've got our plane tickets booked, and we're going. There's no question about that. The big question is, what's that really going to look like, and how's that going to feel for all of us? I don't know. I'm excited about it, but I honestly do not know. Alrighty. By the way, while everybody's here, and thank you all for joining today, so happy that you're here, would you be kind enough to hop over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts or Google Podcasts or Amazon Podcasts and check out Tech Stream with Shelly Palmer and Seth Everett. This week's episode dropped yesterday morning. We're talking about esports and video gaming this week. Seth is amazing. We have a lot of fun together. He's a great co-host, and he's a very experienced podcaster and always keeps the show just humming right along. So we have a grand old time, Seth and I think you'll have a good time with us. So if you'd be kind enough to run, just if you're a podcast listener and you like to listen to podcasts, I would truly appreciate it if you would give us a try, because it's we have a good time doing it. I think you'll feel that, and I think you'll have a good time having a listen. So, okay, this morning, 9 o'clock, the oversight board of that Facebook put in place was tasked, and they were tasked with deciding if Facebook did a good job or a bad job in banning former President Trump's Facebook and Instagram accounts. They basically took him offline. And it's interesting to me that they put together this oversight board, which if you go to oversightboard.com, you will see the people on this oversight board. It is a serious who's who of academics and public policy people, very serious people who are from all walks of life and also experiences, particularly interesting people. And this oversight board, apparently 5 of them took it upon themselves to come up with a position, and then the whole board ratified it, and it was unanimous. And they came back with the recommendation that the ban on Trump's accounts be withheld, be held up, rather. But they did something interesting. When they said, hey, Facebook, it feels a little arbitrary. Like what you did feels a little arbitrary. And so they gave Facebook 6 months to come up with a better outcome. And what they meant by that was Facebook, apparently, according to the oversight board, made what they felt was an arbitrary decision. They should have either absolutely canceled Trump's accounts the way they absolutely cancel other people's accounts when things go wrong, or given a timed suspension, or something else. But what they did was they didn't apply their own rules. So they've got 6 months to come back with what they're going to do. And the board also asked Facebook to apply its policies evenly. I think that's the best way to put it. You should go to oversightboard.com. The decision is there. It's a good read, but I think it's also important to read about who the people are on the board and what they do. A lot of my friends who I debate this stuff with all the time feel like Facebook punted with this board. Like it wasn't a, what's the word I'm looking for here? They could have made their own decision. They put this thing in place. I don't know. That a lot of people feel like it was just a punt. I don't know if it was a punt or not. I feel like these are important decisions. They need to be made in a logical way. They need to be made in a dispassionate way. And I think Facebook is trying not to get accused of, every single thing we accuse them of all the time. In Facebook's defense, and full disclosure, Facebook is a client of ours. They have been gracious enough to support our Innovation Series Summits at CES, as well as the other initiatives we've done through the years. We've done a lot of video work for them. We've done interviews for their PR group. They're amazingly good clients. They're really nice people. I have many good friends there. So just let me get that out there so it's transparent. But I'm also just a person. I'm a father of three and a grandfather of three. And we're people, and we're, in a world of social media. So I have a, personal interest in how this goes. In Facebook's defense, it's the largest thing of its kind that's ever been invented and or managed. And what I mean by that is, if you take out your phone right now and you open the Facebook app, and if everybody started to scroll right this second, and then I said stop, and everybody stopped, what everyone would be looking at and have just looked at is 60 frame per second scrolling on a mobile device at whatever screen resolution your device can handle, at its maximum resolution or as maximally as you have it set. Custom delivered and custom created for each and every one of you as fast as you can scroll. Think about that for a minute. No two Facebook feeds are alike. It's based on every ounce of data you've ever taught Facebook across the entire World Wide Web, which is a little bit of they're sad about because IDFA is gone and the audience network is a little crippled now that Tim Cook has taken iPhones out of the loop. But for all intents and purposes, this week, everything you've ever done online with a Facebook ID could have figured out what you were doing. It figured out. So what Facebook delivered to you was a completely customized content experience for each and every one of its roughly 3 billion users. I don't know if I can believe the full number of people there, but it's a frighteningly large number of people, and it's in the order of 3 billion. If you add in Instagram and you add in WhatsApp, we're talking a frighteningly large number of people. I think it's only like 4 billion people on the whole internet. 7 billion people on Earth, roughly 4 billion on the internet. It's a number like that. So 3/4 of everybody on the internet is on Facebook, and they put a custom feed in front of everybody. So if you think about the technology required to do that, you got to give them a little credit. Do they know what they're doing? I don't know how they possibly could. Nothing's ever been this size. No algorithm has ever tried to deliver that much customized content to that many people in real time ever in the history of the world. Never been done. So there's new stuff happening there, and you have to respect that. In defense of humanity, if you are going to take Donald Trump off of Facebook because of whatever he's done that you don't care for, what about all the other world leaders who've done things we don't care for? Have they violated Facebook's terms of service? There are plenty of dictators in the world. Do they get to be on Facebook? There are plenty of people who run military regimes and stuff that are, these are not the kind of people you want to go have a beer with. Are they still on Facebook? If they're going to apply a standard to Donald Trump's account, which they may completely be justified in doing, I'm not here to pass judgment on that right this second. I'm simply saying if it's good for the goose, it's good for the gander. And I think the oversight board is right. I don't know that Facebook has done an okay job at uniformly applying the rules and regulations that they say they have. So I think that's important. I just think that's really important. And I was happy to see that from this oversight board. What I'm also unclear about, and I have no way of learning this, so I don't know other than just to say it to you. So if Facebook decides they're not going to comply with what the oversight board says, I mean, what are the ramifications? Does it really matter? Like Facebook and put an endowment out there, paid for the people to be on the oversight board. So, is that a thing? I don't know. Is that a thing? You will have to decide. So, speaking of social media, this is my Twitter handle, at Shelly Palmer. I will say it again, at Shelly Palmer. I actually don't care what you say on Twitter right now. I don't. But I would beg you, if you have a Twitter account, the cost of coming to Strategy Hacker Livestream, you could use the hashtag Strategy Hacker if you want to. Don't care. But I would appreciate it. If you're going to put my Twitter handle in your post, in your Twitter post, make sure that if it's at Shelly Palmer is the first thing that you're writing, that there's a period or some character in front of it. Otherwise, you're just writing it to me, for those of you who don't do Twitter a lot. If you are a Twitter person, please. If you're not a Twitter person, that's okay. You can put a post on Facebook. You can take a picture with a screen. You can do anything you like. The kids love it. We just need you to literally, I would just ask you, we're trying to promote this in a good way. And while we're on the subject, if you're on YouTube Live, which I know I can see a lot of you are, please, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe to the channel. I would truly, truly appreciate that. And hit the like button if you can, because YouTube gives us points when you do that. And I'm excited when YouTube gives us points. So you can subscribe to the channel if you are so inclined. Not that we will torture you, we don't. And you also, of course, can hit the like button, which I think would be very helpful for us. All right, moving on. So there's been some crazy stuff going on. That scared you? I'm sorry, Jeff Minsky. I can harken back to a time when you weren't scared. I can rewind because I'm that guy now. Like I just literally put all my sound effects in just put all my sound effects in my little device here so I can, if I want to rewind, I can. And of course, Jeff, just for fun, I can do comedy. So yeah, I'm just saying it's we got some silliness going on here. Oh, I have another thing I can do too, which is really weird. I can jump in. I can jump back out. It's like fun with things you can do online. It's just been a thing I've been doing for myself, just, to amuse myself at night. I'm learning to write a whole bunch of scripts for vMix, which is the tool I use. We're building they've got a wonderful API, and I'm building all of these tools for our clients. This is really good, when you are doing like the PowerPoint that I'm using here. I think the clients that we have, our clients are trying to be able to do this kind of work where they can put up a PowerPoint and they have the ability, like I can go back to the previous slide with Trump or go back to it's fun. So we're building automated tools for our clients to be able to have this kind of install. And while I'm doing that, it's like, oh, you can do that. I'm just, having a little bit of fun. And so sorry, I didn't mean to scare you. Anyway, reading my little paper here. Apple versus Epic Games. The lawsuit started this past week. And, Patty Rubio, I can't even speak. Thank you. TikTok. I'm so happy. TikTok is super fun. I'm in love with that. We'll talk about that in a minute. Yeah, love TikTok. Anyway, Spotify is having a thing with Apple in the EU, and Epic Games is having a thing with Apple in the EU. Apple is actually having a thing right here. There's a trial in America, Apple versus Epic Games. It's purely about money. You know the story. Epic wants Apple to back off on this 30-point chop they take. They want to be able to do in-app purchases without imperial involvement. They really want to just be able to make more money. Tim Sweeney already makes a lot of money, but he wants to make more money, and he feels like Apple's standing in the way. He's also suing Google, and it's happening. It's happening in Europe also, and this thing in Europe may actually have some ramifications on the Apple Epic trial here, because in the EU, interestingly enough, the European Union accused Apple of monopolistic practices precisely and exactly the same way that Epic is claiming that Apple is abusing its power here in the States, only in the EU, because the strategy in the EU is to sue big tech as opposed to foster innovation. They're threatening Apple with a $27 billion fine. So it's hardcore. And the thing, I think you may know this, Apple Music and Spotify directly compete in the iOS environment and in iPadOS. So if you have Spotify on your iPhone or your iPad, you will never see an ad that tells you that there's a cheaper version of that you can than there's a cheaper version than Apple Music, and you will never see any ads from Spotify that in any way compete with the Apple offering. So it's pretty evil because Spotify's hands are completely tied behind its back when it comes to Apple. And you may have also realized this when you've gone to buy a book on Amazon to download to your iPhone or your iPad. You can put it on a wish list, but you can't actually do the transaction. You've got to leave your iOS device, go to your desktop, make the purchase, and then download it. So there are some grievances. Now, Apple's position is, hey, this is our party. You don't like our party. You don't have to sell on an iPhone. You don't have to, you don't have to use our platform. But the point is, they do. I mean, everybody is sort of forced into using Apple's, living in Apple's world. We don't get to not do that. I mean, that's disingenuous of Apple to say you got 1.5 billion Apple devices out there, and we are forced to use them. And it is, especially because, for all intents and purposes, and there's no way to get around what I'm about to say, if you're an advertiser, you want everybody that's holding a $1,500 phone. There's nobody you're trying to sell to more important than someone who's holding what is truly a fashion accessory or status symbol that they spent that kind of money on. So Apple users self-select as the wealthiest people on earth. You're an advertiser. That's gold. So yeah, let's go, folks. I mean, if you're an advertiser, that's what it is. So I think everybody is. I think they're upset because they should be upset. And whether Apple is guilty of being monopolistic or not, I do not know. But they say they are. While we're thinking about things that are not monopolistic, most of you I know are on PGX. That's our private social network. It's PGX.tech. The link is in the description on all of the channels on which you would be watching. You will really like PGX. It is a wonderful place. We have good, hardcore debates there. The people there are wonderful. There are well over 3,000 members, and they are, to a person, they are fabulous. You can ask anybody anything, which is amazing, and you will get a good answer, a thoughtful answer, which I think is important. People are always thoughtful and respectful on PGX. We have gone out of our way to assemble people who understand that it's always open season on ideas, and it's never open season on other people. So yeah, PGX.tech. If you are interested, there's a link in the description, and you are completely welcome to join us there. And I really think you'll enjoy it. It's a super fun place to be. Alrighty, coming back now. So I want to talk a little bit now about something else cool happened today. By the way, Jeff Minsky, welcome everybody who was from LinkedIn. Wow, what a nice crowd. And I'm just looking here. I see a nice crowd on YouTube. And welcome Twitch people, and welcome. Are you guys really on Periscope? Is that true? I thought that was gone. What version of Twitter are you on? That's kind of amazing to me that there's still some version of Twitter left. It's wacky. Also, so anyway, welcome everybody. I saw this thing, and I think it's cool. I don't know if you guys are, if anybody uses Instagram. I do. I like it. It's super fun. There's a new thing. You see the captioning. We use a tool set called Kamua, Kamua, but to do our captions in my TikToks and in my daily videos that I put pretty much everywhere, including Instagram. But just this week, they came out with this thing you might really like. It's if you add a sticker, the caption sticker, it does this, Which, like, how cool is that in Instagram? Like, first of all, it's nicely designed. You can also move it around like a sticker in case that's something you want to do. But I just thought that was super cool. So if you're an Instagram user, you can now caption your stuff on Instagram, which is, great. All right. Let's see. Oh, I have to talk about this. It wasn't on my list of things to do today, but I definitely want to talk about this for a second. So Monday and Tuesday of this week, there was a story on Monday that just burned me a little bit. It was the state of Florida, the state legislature, the Senate and the House, the Florida House, had passed a bill that allows Florida to brutally punish, and I mean brutally punish, social media platforms for deplatforming someone. And you need, even the worst offenders have to be given 30 days, and you need all kinds of things in place to kick someone off your platform. And the more I read about this, the madder I got, because look, I understand that there's this manufactured concept that big platforms are left-wing platforms, and the conservatives don't have a voice. The stats don't back that up, by the way. Donald Trump, for all his shortcomings, and I'm not going to get into who Donald Trump is or what he's about, because it's really not something I want to talk about. You got to give the man respect for being the best Twitter user, probably the finest social media user that's lived so far. No one's ever had more or better followers. No one has ever done a better job communicating what they wanted to communicate on social media than Donald Trump. So if you look at the stats, during the time that Trump was on these platforms, Twitter and Facebook, nobody was close, dominated these platforms. So to say that somehow conservative voices were shut down or somehow censored is silly. Because if you just go, and there are things called listening posts, and we don't need to take a guess at this, and we don't need to take my word for it, and we don't need to use aphorisms or anecdotes. We don't need to use hearsay. You can take your hard-earned dollars and go online to one of 1,000 pieces of software that you can just Google that will look at, and they're called sentiment engines or listening posts. Those are the terms of art. You can pony up and you can go ahead and analyze the feeds of all social media, period. There is no social media you cannot audit, because by nature, by definition, these tools are publicly published. You're on Facebook, the world sees it. You're on Twitter, the world sees it. It's out there. Twitter analytics, every single tweet ever is out there. It's searchable. You can get it. You don't need to guess. You don't need to think. So you can decide, you can craft your own algorithm. There are at least 1,000 tools out there online you can get to. Some you have to code yourself. Others you don't need to know any code at all. You can enlist the help of artificial intelligence or machine learning tools that will read the sentiment of every single post. What is a sentiment engine? Unlike the algorithms that choose what you see, sentiment engines actually read the copy and determine the sentiment. Is it positive? Is it negative? Or is it neutral? Brands use these tools all the time to determine if they're doing okay in a brand health environment. Do we love Jif peanut butter this week, or do we hate them? Do we like United Airlines this week? Do we hate them? What's going on in the world of social media that the chief marketing officer needs to understand, or the chief communications officer needs to understand? So when I looked at this, it seemed to me that this was a political move, that politicians who have no understanding of how these tools work, and or facts in this case, decided they would, in a very punitive way, go after big tech, specifically social media platforms. That by itself wasn't news to me. And by the way, I don't mind if politicians want to regulate social media. Social media needs to be reined in. And we can do a whole episode, we can do 10 episodes on my personal take on just how important it is for us as a species of humans in this part in our evolution, in our history, in our technological ladder and the technological maturity of human beings, how important it is to rein in the data elite. I have no problem with that at all. And in fact, I think it needs to be debated, and I think it needs to be done. And I think it needs to be done with extreme prejudice, to be fair and frank. But this wasn't that. I read this as a brutal, flagrant attack on the First Amendment. This was the government saying, you will do the following with your private business. You will think this way, and under these terms, you will act. I went crazy. Now, the part I want to talk to you about isn't that I went crazy and I did a post saying, hey, this is a First Amendment issue, and this is Big Brother. Florida is now Big Brother. And because I'll stand by that right now. I think that law is a really bad law, and Governor DeSantis is going to sign it into law. The bill is going to be approved this week, and it's not going to, and everybody I know that's a lawyer says it cannot possibly stand because it has all kinds of problems with it, not the least of which is the contract clause in the Constitution. Forget the First Amendment. States aren't allowed to invalidate contracts like this, and when you sign up with Facebook, you sign a contract called you click a button called Terms and Conditions, and you agree. And that is a contract. It's a binding contract made between a private business and a private citizen. And the states can't get involved in that. Neither can the federal government. That's what the Constitution says. So this is going to court no matter what. It's going to court. And there are other aspects of this law that actually you could question under other paragraphs in the Constitution. So it's going to court for those too. Not the interesting part of this, oddly enough. The interesting part of this was Tuesday, yesterday. For those of you who are not familiar with this term, tu quo qui is a very old phrase, and very old. And we have a new phrase for it, tu quo qui. It's a logical fallacy. I know you are, but what am I? Is sort of what it means, but that's not how it's used in its logical fallacy context. In the logical fallacy context, I say, this is what happened in Florida. The government has passed a law a bill that's about to be signed into law that makes them, I believe, direct violators of the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, and they are taking one big step towards becoming Big Brother. And rather than argue that point with me, 100%, let me make sure I'm going to get you this number because I don't want you to miss it, 100% of the people who wrote negative things to me about my position used whataboutism. But what about social media? They are the public square. They're the ones who are the monopoly. They're the ones who are violating the First Amendment. No one, not a human being, nobody wrote back to me to argue the point of the argument, which is, I believe that the state of Florida is violating the First Amendment with this particular law, which, by the way, I might not be right about. I already told you, lawyers who I know called me up and said, contract clause, don't even worry about the First Amendment. It violates that. There are and other people told me other aspects of constitutional law that I should have known, but I'm not a constitutional law professor. I'm a guy who grew up in a world of critical listening, critical viewing, and I understand pretty deeply what the First Amendment's about. And I come from an industry that is the only industry mentioned in the Constitution. So, as the press being part of my life and me being a writer and a producer and person on television, and, I've been in this business my whole life, I have a pretty decent understanding of what the parameters of the First Amendment are, but I'm not as well versed in the Constitution, in the contract clause of the Constitution. So, yeah, I got schooled a little bit by friends who were telling me, you're absolutely right, but here's how it's going to actually happen. But people who came at me, and this is the part I want to think through, the people who came at me to tell me that I was absolutely wrong or worse. And by the way, we live in a world where if I'm going to say something, it's open season on me. I get that. I got pretty thick skin. I don't punch down. I'm not going to take somebody who's got 50 followers and start, wasting my time going at them. If I don't know you and you call me an idiot, that's fine. Just call me an idiot. I'm okay with that. If I know you and you call me an idiot, I will ask you why. But if I don't know you, I really won't. 100% of the people who wrote negative things about what my position is used whataboutism as their reasoning for their argument. Folks, what has happened? Whataboutism to Tocqueville arguments? Are you telling me not one person who believes I'm wrong could argue the Constitution with me? Could argue on the face of the actual argument in a Socratic debate to cut down my analysis and say, no, you're wrong, and here's why. The First Amendment says this, 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 and this. And by the way, oh, wait, I'm sorry. This was heartbreaking to me. Because what it says is the people who came at me didn't have the skill, didn't have the intellectual framework, didn't have the debating skills, didn't have the reasoning tools, didn't have the knowledge or the education personally to come at me. All they could do is play what about to Tocqueville. Really? I said to Tocqueville, I meant to Quoquie. I keep saying to Tocqueville, to Quoquie. I'm sorry, to Quoquie. I mean, honest to God, a de Quoquie argument, that's schoolyard stuff, folks. Whataboutism is schoolyard. Come at me with what you got. Go do your reading and call me out. Take me out to the woodshed and tell me why I'm wrong. And more importantly, give me a better answer than I have. And if we need to frame the question, or the argument, look, this is the power of social media. This is the world in which we live. And therefore, we need blank. But Florida is justified not because of that, but because this needs to be dealt with. They need a tool set. And that tool set, their tools only include the following. Sure, it's weak. Their tools only include the following, but I like it way better. The legislators only have these tools available to them, Shelly. That's why you're wrong. They've done the thing they can do best. After all, they're trying to solve a specific problem. I love it. I don't agree, because they do have other tools, right? They're a legislature. They can sit down and go, the data elite have an absolute monopoly on the collection and use of every ounce of our digital footprint. And we should stop that, because that's really a problem. Well, okay. That's what a legislature should sit down and do. What does it mean to use machine learning tools nowadays? What does it mean to gather my data? What does it mean for you to have that kind of control over what I see? And it's not control that a human being is exercising. So that's the wrong framework too. That is the wrong framework too. No human being is sitting there going, this is what you should see. A model is being trained by your feedback. You scroll, you swipe, you click, you tap, you interact, you purchase, you do whatever that is. The data's collected. Your keystrokes are collected. The history of your browsing is collected. What you do on the internet is collected. From that, the model determines whether what it's putting in front of you makes sense. And it has a great feedback loop because you either interact with it and engage with it or you don't. The models don't read the content that the models surface. The models read the metadata from the node, from you and the group around you, in the graph around you. All of the people you're connected to most closely, that you interact with most closely, are looking at the same content. You should look at it too. And they have a confidence interval and a confidence level. They go, this content's probably going to work here. And if it doesn't, if you don't engage, they put something else up there and see if you do. And they throw some random stuff in there too, because the noise helps with serendipity and helps test the waters. What else might you be interested in? Because even the algorithm understands that we're not always one thing all the time. None of us are. That's a great argument to have. That would show an immense understanding of the problem as it sits. Wait a minute. Echo chambers are forming. Models are engaging us, and they're fed back data to help continue to engage us this way. And we're prisoners of our own passions, and we're prisoners of our own political points of view. We're prisoners of our own confirmation bias, because that is what enriches the people who have stakes in the tool sets, because they only make money when we click on ads. We don't tap on an ad or click on an ad, they don't make money. The only way they get us to do that is by engaging us for the longest period of time. What an amazingly good argument to have with me. A tu quoque comeback? But what about social media? What about social media? Okay, I'll give you that much. What about it? What about it? What do you know about social media that you want to add to my First Amendment argument? It stunned me and it pissed me off. And by the way, the whataboutism just made me sad. Like, I was just profoundly saddened. And I'm not talking about one or two emails. You guys know we put out hundreds of thousands of emails every day, and millions a month of emails. And we get a ton of responses. And I'm always happy to see them. And I encourage them. And I don't mind if people say bad things about me. I really don't. I'm okay with it. Because if it's coming from a place of, I want to argue with you about something you believe and we're going to get to a better answer, I'm capable of holding two opposing ideas in my head at once and coming up with like, this is the best one. I'm good here. I like it. I was brought up in a culture where you argue your point. You believe what you believe, but you have to go at it with an open mind. And you also have to respect the people. You have to respect the people that you are arguing with. So when people write, Shelly, are you out of your mind? You're an idiot. You're like, when you start like that, okay, I understand this is because you want my attention. But if it goes past that point, are you someone I need to argue with? No, probably not. But if you come open season on ideas, which by the way is the whole point of PGX, it's open season on ideas. I don't want you to call me a name. I want you to say, Shelly, your idea is really stupid. Not you, not Shelly, you're really stupid. Shelly, your idea is really stupid, and here's why. It's not the greatest open for a thing, but I'll take it. If you're going to do that, you better come with more than that. You better come with the actual reasons why I have a stupid idea. And by the way, I am capable of having an immensely large number of stupid ideas. You can change my mind. My mind can be changed. My point of view can be changed. But you can't do it with whataboutism. Not with a logical fallacy. You can't tell me, man, what about so-and-so? What about so-and-so? Does that have to do with the price of anything? Tell me about the argument we're actually having and bring your proof points. And this, to me, if I only saw one or two whataboutism things, yeah, I would have let it go. When I tell you, we got a volume of emails in that was stunning. And by the way, a bunch of what I will argue is complete cowards. Complete cowards. Unsubscribed, which I literally don't know how that helps anybody. It's like, wow, what'd I do? I hurt your feelings. You couldn't take it. Like that was your thing. Like wow, that's amazing. Just, okay. If that's what happened, that's what happened. But I really feel like, we should be better than that. And if you've got an idea, and it doesn't matter what that, by the way, in business too, and I mean, you have an idea. This is the Strategy Hacker live stream. It's about strategy hacking. If you want to change a strategy, if you've got something that you believe, hey, you know what? We're supposed to take Hill 409, and I think that's going to open up this whole market for we got to concentrate over here. You can't back that up with a logical argument that's really good. Or you're going to let me, I mean, come on, really? And every time we start with the strategy, it has to be open season. You have to be able to look at a SWOT, the strengths and the weaknesses and the opportunities and the threats. You have to be able, and there are 100 other types of analysis like that. You literally have to be able to look at what you're doing in a dispassionate way. You can't fall in love with your words if you're a writer. You can't fall in love with your images if you're a producer. You cannot fall in love with your characters if you are a storyteller. You have to be dispassionate, and you have to listen to your audience and understand what it is that you're trying to accomplish, and be willing to be proved wrong. But if you're going to come at somebody who you wish to prove wrong, then bring your proof points. Bring your proof points. Without them, there ain't much to talk about. Now, speaking of things that I wanted to talk about today, I didn't mean to go on that rant. That was probably more than I probably needed to go after. But the whataboutism thing blew my mind. Look, we are in an explosive, and I mean explosive, crypto bubble right now. Craziness is happening. Bitcoin's going up and down. I think it's not where it was a couple of days ago. It's in the $58,000 range this morning. Ether is way up. It's doubled in the month since I started mining Ether for you all, which is crazy. I think you know that in the I think you know that I put over here over my shoulder, that's my little crypto mining rig that we set up. If you remember, we set that mining rig up a couple of weeks ago. So that mining rig is doing like, now it's doing like $30 a day. When we started, I think it was doing $4 or $5 a day. But I've got there's a second GPU running, and it's just the price of Ether's doubled. So it's 100% higher. It was $1,600 and $1,700 when we started, and it's literally over. It's like $3,500. So yeah, David Charmont, so $57,200 for Bitcoin. Ethereum, on the other hand, is really, it's something crazy right now. So I definitely think we should be looking long and hard at what's actually happening. And to that end, at shellypalmer.com, which is here, you can go, and Sunday's blog is I'm not going to call it extensive, but pretty long glossary of crypto, DeFi, DEX, DApp, all those jargony words. Hello, Lucas from Argentina. Hello, Mohammed. Welcome. George Bernard Shaw once said that every profession was a conspiracy against the laity. And I got to tell you, crypto is no exception. So dApps for decentralized apps, and DeFi for decentralized finance. Everything's got its layer 2, which is a layer that sits over the mainnet being the main blockchain. Everybody's got a name for whatever they do on, some of them are related to one another. For example, the layer 2 rollup, that's happening on Ethereum. The main one that people are excited about is called Optimism, and it's a play on the type of roll-up that it's going to empower, which is an optimistic roll-up. So what's an optimistic roll-up? Right. So again, this glossary is filled with all of the terminology you will need and the simplest descriptions I could write. So it's not supposed to be a dictionary and it doesn't read like a textbook. I just tried to do this in a way that would be helpful to you. So again, it's at shellypalmer.com. And if you'd be kind enough to go there, you will see the glossary. It's Sunday, I believe, was the day that I put it online. So it's a couple days back, and it won't be hard to find. You'll get a chance to have a look at it. Let's see, what do we got here? Yeah. So just want to tell you about our salons. Monday we have Education Tech. These salons, and I know a lot of you have joined us. These salons are 11:05 to 11:30 every day, Monday through Thursday. They're a half hour long. You'll learn a little. You'll teach a little. They're completely free of charge. They happen on Zoom. We have Mondays is Education Tech. Tuesdays is Leading Edge. Wednesdays this morning, we do Women Championing Women. My daughter Alexis runs that. Apparently this morning was outstanding. She always has guest moderators and guest hosts, and it was apparently an amazing group this morning. Please join. And tomorrow we'll have Technology, Media, and Marketing. You're all welcome. To get the credentials, just go to shellypalmer.com/salons and just fill out a little form, and you'll get a Google Calendar invite, and you will be graciously welcomed into these salons. We're totally happy to have you there. And again, if you wouldn't mind, I've asked before, at Shelly Palmer on Twitter. And someone was kind of just a little earlier. Patty was kind of a little earlier to tell me that she liked the stuff I was doing on TikTok. TikTok is really fun for me. It's an incredibly weird place with a wide range of very talented to very untalented people. It's a little scary. It's sort of like life. At Shelly Palmer 5 is my TikTok handle. If you are listening today and you're in business and you are thinking about technology, media, marketing, entertainment, the future of communication, you owe it to yourself to go and spend at least 5 minutes on TikTok every day. 10 would be better. And you need to pay special attention to the way the algorithm tunes itself to you. Like the things you like, ignore the things you ignore, swipe left or right depending on what you're following and what you're doing, swipe up and down based on what you want to see, pause what you want to do. The difference between the TikTok algorithm and a Facebook algorithm is that TikTok is a single venue. And there's only one thing that it does. And that one algorithm studies you directly. You feed back to it directly, and it learns you. You need to understand that viscerally. You need to think through what that means, because we need some real, no kidding, rules and regs about technology. And if we don't get them, it's going to be a problem. We have to have them. And in order for you to understand how to talk to your elected officials and who the right elected official would be next time you need to elect an official with respect to their ability to understand the intellectual framework, the policy framework, the tools and technologies required by government to understand and then govern and regulate, critically important for you to understand yourself what's happening. I do want to spend a solid hour, and we'll do it next week, talking about decentralized finance, identity, what it kind of means. I want you to think about the following for a second. I have a cryptocurrency in my digital wallet on my smart device. So I have a smartphone with a digital wallet, and I have some crypto on it. Let's call it ADA, which is the Cardano crypto. And I go to a bar and I am over the age of 21. And the bouncer says that'll be 10 ADA to get in. That's $10 fee or so. Okay, fine. And they scan my digital wallet so that the transfer happens. And this is a layer 2 transaction, so it's going to be very, very quick. Pretty much like a credit card transaction. And then my device glows green, nothing else, because I'm over 21. The person in the bar doesn't get any information about me other than the fact that I'm over 21. And the fact that I just gave them 10 ADA, which is the currency that they were looking for. They'll turn that into fiat currency if they want to, or they won't. They'll just let it settle out where it is. And then I walk in the bar. Today, I have to hand them a paper identification, a license that has my name, my address, my picture. I've got to tell them all kinds of things about myself I don't want this bouncer to know. In that world, not only do they get their money without imperial involvement, there's no tax ramification to that. No one needs to know that happened. That just happened on a blockchain. It's for all intents and purposes anonymous. And the fact that I'm over 21, which is immutably written into the blockchain as well, my system knows I'm over 21. That's it. Now you know I can be in here. Conditions are met. I've paid my 10 and I'm over 21. I'm going to have a drink, please. Think about that world, because that world is coming. As sure as we're sitting here, that world is coming. That's what the world of DeFi is about. That's what the dApps, or distributed app or decentralized applications, are about. That's what the blockchain layer 2 is about. That's what NFTs are ultimately going to be about. That's what cryptocurrency is ultimately going to be about. So we want to talk about this at length. Some of it's going to unfold the way I believe it's going to unfold. Some of it is going to unfold in much more interesting ways than we could ever predict. But our job in the strategy hacker world is to think through what that's actually going to mean long term, and also what we need to do now to prepare for that future, because that future is coming very, very quickly. So next week, I promise you, we will spend time looking at DeFi, layer 2, dApps, the various coins of the realm right now, what their potentials are. And be a little careful if you're going to get deep into crypto right now. And I know there's a big draw because the money is so amazing and people are doubling their money and they're all talking about how great it is.